I'll be reading from Luke 14:12 to 14. He also said to the one who had invited him, "When you give a lunch or a dinner, don't invite your friends, your brothers, your relatives, or your rich neighbors, because they might invite you back, and you would be repaid. On the contrary, when you host a banquet, invite those who are poor, maimed, lame, or blind, and you will be blessed, because they cannot repay you. For you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous."
Go ahead and turn to Philippians chapter 4. Philippians chapter 4. We're glad to have our guests here today. If it were not for our guests today, we wouldn't have many people here at all today. So we're glad to have you especially today. And let me mention, I mentioned last week that we were challenging the congregation to read through the entire Bible in the next year, in 2011. And we will be using the one-year Bible, and the focus is going to be specifically on God's sightings. Let me explain that a little bit. The Bible is very good about making us aware of how God has worked with the world and interacted in the world through the ages. And as we read through the Bible, we're going to try to make a special focus of calling your attention to how God has done that. Now, in turn, we would like to cultivate a greater awareness in all of us in how God is interacting in our world today and in our lives today. And so that is going to be kind of the thrust of this reading. And I mentioned to you that you can certainly purchase a one-year Bible at just about any Christian bookstore or Barnes & Noble or Borders, anything like that, or buy it from christianbooks.com and get a discount. But you don't have to buy anything. We're going to try to make the schedules available to you, or you can log online to oneyearbibleonline.com, and you can read it there. You can find it there. In fact, if you go over and click on January, you will come to the January schedule. January 1st, you see that January 1st schedule up there. That's what you're to be reading next Saturday morning. And if you click on January 1st, you're taken to another page, and all of a sudden you can read. And all you have to do is page down and go down one more time. And you'll see that you can just keep on reading, and every day you can log on, and you can even listen to it online. If you'd rather not read it with your eye, if your eyes are tired, you can even read it you can listen to it, and it gives you one of the options of listening, and it will read it to you. So we would like for everybody to read through the Bible in this year, and as I mentioned, we're going to try to make opportunities available for you to share the new discoveries that you come across. And you will come across some new discoveries, and I'd like to encourage you to do that. You can, on the online, you can choose whatever translation you want. They're all available there to you. And some of you who have been trying to learn Spanish, you can even pick a Spanish translation and read it instead of the English if you want to. Enough said about that. Alice Singleton, living in New York, tells a story about a little boy about 10 years old who was standing in front of a shoe store on Broadway. And he was barefooted, he was peering through the window, and he is shivering, obviously very cold. And the lady approached the boy and said, "My little fellow, why are you looking so earnestly in the window?" "Well, I was asking God to give me a pair of shoes," he said. And so she took him by the hand and took him inside the store. And she asked the proprietor to get about a half dozen pair of socks for him. And then she asked the proprietor for a wash basin and a towel. And she took the young boy, took him back into the back part of the store, and took off her gloves and got down and washed his feet. And she dried them with the towel, and about then the the storekeeper had found the socks and he had brought them, and she put a pair of the socks on his feet and bought him a pair of shoes and gave them to him. And she patted him on the head and she said, "No doubt, my little fellow, you feel more comfortable now?" And as she turned to go, the astonished boy caught her by surprise, and looking up into her face with tears in his eyes, he answered her question with another question. "Are you God's wife?" Now, to be honest, I don't know if that's a true story or if that's kind of the product of somebody's syrupy, melodramatic imagination. I don't know which, but it's the kind of story that I like to hear this time of year. It's a real Christmas story. I mean, it really is. My good friend Gary Tolliver, however, wrote a while back that the holiday season is a little bit, he wrote about it in a little bit different terms. Gary Tolliver's a friend of mine, and I looked on the web for a picture of him and tried to find the best one I could find, and I found his number. I did a search and found his phone number and called him down in Texas, and he lives in the Temple area, and asked him to send me a picture. Well, after I'd gone through everything that I could find, I decided this was the best picture of Gary Tolliver. I never saw him without boots on. The finest suit, he wore boots. PhD, he wore boots. Now I have boots. I bought them when I moved to Texas, but I didn't marry them like Tolliver did. I guess it's the difference between being a wannabe Texan and a real Texan, and Gary's the real Texan. Gary went on to say, though, he said, everywhere we look these days, we see the signs of the season. The tinsel and the lights are over the streets, the holiday music coming through Muzak, and the closets this time of year have been full of mysterious boxes and brown bags, and we always caution the kids not to get into the bags. Not this time of year, we don't want them snooping around. Tinkle bells ring besides the Salvation Army baskets that hang out in front of the store, and colored lights decorate the roofs and the windows, and opportunities, all kind of opportunities for attending holiday parties that kind of cluster our calendar this time of year. There's a bustling spirit of anticipation. It's a time of the year called Christmas, and it's a time of the year set aside for gift giving and words of encouragement and family closeness and merry hearts and thoughts of others instead of self. But then Tolliver goes on to say, if this is such a great and lifting time of the year, why do we so often see the following events in the season? People going into debt to buy presents for people they don't really like, who will probably not use the gifts. Stores overcrowded with inconsiderate people who push and grab with hostility and malice for that hard-to-find article. Family units pushed to the limit with the stress of buried grudges and resentment and unrealistic expectations. And a spirit of selfish give-me's instead of the let me help you's. And you know, Tolliver's right. The truth is, of course, that people have all different kinds of reasons for giving gifts, and often those reasons tell us a whole lot more than the act of giving itself. And with that thought in mind, I'd like for us to go to our text, Philippians chapter 4. Paul is writing. He's writing to a church about a gift received. He said, I greatly rejoice in the Lord that at last you have renewed your concern for me. Indeed, you have been concerned, but you had no opportunity to show it. I'm not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need. I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do everything through Him who gives me strength. Yet, it was good of you to share in my troubles. Moreover, As you Philippians know, in the early days of your acquaintance with the gospel, when I set out for Macedonia, not one church shared with me in the matter of giving and receiving except you only. For even when I was in Thessalonica, you sent to me aid again and again when I was in need. Not that I'm looking for a gift, but I'm looking for what may be accredited to your account. I have received full payment, and even more, and I'm amply supplied now that I've received from Epaphroditus the gift you sent. They are a fragrant offering, an acceptable sacrifice pleasing to God. And my God will meet all your needs according to His glorious riches in Christ Jesus. To our God and Father be glory forever and ever. Amen. It's a good text. In any season of the year, it's a good text. People give gifts for a variety of reasons. In Luke 6, we're told that to give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down and shaken together and running over, will be poured into your lap. For the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Now, because of the convenience of the wording of this text, I have known individuals who got dollar signs in their eyes when they read this text. And in response, they launched into an investment strategy where they gave to get. In other words, it was their attempt to manipulate God. They failed to consider the fact that He could read their heart. This wasn't giving. This was an investment scam. God cannot be fooled. In much the same way, in Luke 14, the text was read a few months ago, it makes us aware of those who give so as to receive something in return, perhaps from that person they're giving to obligate that person. You invite them to dinner, so they'll invite you back. I have no doubt whatsoever that you have a relative like that. If not a relative, you have a friend or two like that. And you know what's happening even when it happens. And then in His Sermon on the Mount, Jesus tells us that there are some who give to be seen of men. In other words, they give to be praised for their giving. They want to be noticed. They want notoriety. And of course, this is a great temptation of any philanthropic giving, whether religious or not. It's giving in order to get notoriety or recognition for one's generosity. In Genesis 32, we read a very interesting, intriguing story of Jacob attempting to give to Esau. And his gifts had ulterior motives. Jacob was giving in hopes to appease the wrath of his brother, to buy his friendship, to buy forgiveness. He wasn't giving because of his affection for his brother. He wasn't giving because of his deep sense of gratitude for his brother. He was giving because he was scared of his brother. He was trying his best to live. It was desperation giving. In 2 Corinthians 8, we read that there of being a yearning to give in response to a sense of appreciation or indebtedness for what one has already received. The reason for giving in that setting was due to the blessing of salvation. They felt blessed because they had received salvation. So now they were giving financially because they'd received spiritual benefits. You may have such yearnings to give because of something you've received. Maybe you have a sense of debt for the great start your parents gave you in life. And so now you have this sense of wanting to give back for, do for them, wanting to bless them because of how they've blessed you. Or maybe because of the terrific addition or blessing that your wife has brought into your life. And so there's a great sense of appreciation for her how she has enriched your world. Or maybe you want to give because of a group of friends who supported you so thoroughly in a difficult time. And so now you feel this great sense of appreciation. The key word is appreciation. You give out of a sense of appreciation. In our text, Philippians 4, it's obvious throughout Philippians that there's a love relationship that exists between this church at Philippi and this apostle, Paul. It's a great sense of love. Now, certainly appreciation was involved in the giving but it went far beyond simply a sense of appreciation or debt. This giving was more substantial than that. It was a love relationship. Their giving was ongoing, and it was persistent. In fact, it started the very day some of them became Christians. When Lydia was baptized, she insisted on the mission team staying at her house, and she provided for them. There was this great sense of appreciation for these people who had brought to her the gospel, but it was more than that. And the Philippian jailer opened his home to them with hospitality even before he was dried off from his baptism. But it continued on from there. Paul went on from Philippi to Thessalonica, and he wrote, "Even when I was in Thessalonica, you sent me aid again and again when I was in need." They were persistent and ongoing in their relationship of gift-giving to him. And when they found out that he was in Rome in prison, they immediately got together gifts, and they sent Epaphroditus as their ambassador to go to Rome to carry these gifts to Paul so that he could be provided for. It was a love relationship that existed, and that was the motivation for their giving. You know, gift giving is sometimes less than what we would desire. I don't mean that we're disappointed in what we got, but sometimes we're disappointed in what we're able to give. Giving has so often been framed in dollar terms that we allow ourselves to be brainwashed into that way of thinking and that value system, and it does a number on us. On a scale of dollar measurement, most of us find ourselves somewhat at a disadvantage. And as a result, we often find ourselves having wishes that our wallet, our checkbook cannot finance. And it's disappointing. Not for ourselves, but for the one we love. It's disappointing we cannot give what we'd like to give. But usually what we're able to give, even when we cannot buy what we want to buy for them, what we can give is a whole lot more valuable than the gift we want to purchase anyway. The gift we can give is our love and our appreciation and our warmth. And that's a whole lot more valuable than the trinket we want to purchase for them. I've got to admit to you, my wife is a master at choosing great gifts. She really is. And her secret for doing that, however, has often been the source of a whole lot of laughter at her expense. You see, what she does is she doesn't wait till Christmas or birthday to come around and then rush out and buy a gift, but rather all year long she watches for those items that she thinks will really delight the people she loves. And when she sees one, she buys it, kind of stores it away in a secret place. Now, the problem is that unfortunately, a significant percentage of time, when the birthday or the Christmas actually arrives, she's forgotten about the gift. And if during the course of the day she remembers it, then she'll run and she'll get it, but it's then the extra gift, the one that she forgot to wrap. And almost without exception, it's the best gift of the day. Of course, it's not unusual that the best gifts that we can give are the ones that require no wrapping at all. And those are the gifts I would like for you to think about for a few moments. As you consider next year, but also as you consider this year. I mean, after all, it's only the day after Christmas. You can still give Christmas gifts this year. There is the gift of more time that your mate is praying for. Your time. To make it a gift that this year you're going to give her or him more of your time. Or perhaps the gift of greater effort to understand her or his longings in life. To communicate, to listen, to really listen, to understand. A great gift that requires no wrapping at all, except perhaps wrapping in love. Or you can give your family the gift of promising that this year you will take a vacation, especially if you're not inclined to do that. And I know some who are not. Or you can give the gift, have you considered giving the gift of your kids, to your kids, the gift of being more active in the home, in family-type activities, rather than always consumed at work, or always consumed in outdoor sports, or always consumed in other activities or projects, but be involved at home with family stuff. Almost never will they be disappointed in your efforts to try harder to be loving and attentive. Almost never will they reject that gift. But it will be treasured by them. And most of the time, they would love for you to become more involved with the family in church. Most of the time, that's true. The gift that doesn't have to be wrapped. Why not work harder this next year to be a better husband, a better wife, a better father, a better mother, a better son, a better daughter, a better friend. To give the gift of being a better friend. These are the kind of gifts that keep giving all year long. And not one of them needs to be wrapped, except perhaps wrapped in love. As we close out this year, I would like for you to think about what you have received as gifts, not just under the tree yesterday, but what you have received as gifts in the person of the loved ones that surround you, and how you have been blessed by their lives, and how you've been blessed by their presence and their companionship and their friendship. And don't forget to express your thankfulness to them for it. Perhaps you need to respond this morning by confessing Jesus Christ as Lord and being buried with Him in baptism. A great gift to give to your Lord today would be your own surrender to Him. If you need to respond in any way, please do so as we stand and as we sing. My challenge for you this week is to make very definite plans to start your reading on January 1st. And there's some schedules for the first part of January that are out on the kiosk, but it will be a whole lot easier for most of you just to log online and get your information there. And you'll find a lot of material there that will help you in not only to do the reading, but to make it very enjoyable for you. And that is my challenge for you for this week. I want you to have a good year, but I want you to start it well.